me now is Grant from Feeder. How are you, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah,
How's the health? I know it's been a bit of a rough week and a half. Was it 2 weeks?
yeah, it's been full on. I caught a bit of a lurgy, so I've been. I'm just sort of the end of it now. I'm feeling much better than I was, but I've just got this horrible cough. Just can't get rid of it. But I think it's just the aftermath of it. Seems to be everyone's got either people have got COVID or they've got chest infections, and there's some weird bugs going around. I think we forget. I think since the whole lockdown thing, I think we forget that there is other things out there as well.
Yeah. We've been sheltered for so long. We're a bit,
Yeah,
and now we're out. It's a bit like getting
yeah.
attacked all left, right, and center.
I know. I mean, I don't really get colds much. I haven't been ill for the whole time, and then obviously, White. When the album's coming out, I sort of come with that down this full blown thing. So yeah, I was feeling pretty rough, but I did manage to do actually most of the installs in the end. But we had to cancel the Virgin Radio Chris Evans thing, which was a bit of a shame. But anyway, it is what it is. The album did really well, so
yeah, well done with that.
Yeah, no, it's a good result really. It was only, obviously on our own little label through Absolute and Townsend, and I think we're the only independent kind of releasing the top 10 and against all these majors, because it looked like quite a good week for a while. Then we suddenly realised everything was moving into our week. We're like, damn it, because if you get it right, you can get a really high place. That's why some bands just get this number one out of nowhere, because it might be a week, but they look. It's just a chart. It doesn't really matter. It's just sort of
as long as it's not a week Ed Sheeran drops something, you're pretty much good.
Well, he had 2 songs in the top 10 still, and the album hanging around, and then he came back and overtook us, and we're like, it never goes away. Anyway, you know what? It doesn't matter. It was a pretty good result, and we didn't really expect anything from this. It's more of a rock sort of fan-based album we just wanted to make, and we weren't even going to take it to radio, so it's done like way more than what we expected it to do already.
Well, it's a banger of an album, and one of my first questions is, do you think Tallulah got enough time to shine from release to lockdown?
I mean, it did really well. I mean, it was number 4, so it's one of our highest releases. So actually pretty on par with this one. I think this was maybe a slightly tougher week, but I mean that was a great result for us, and it went down very well. It had good reviews in general. It obviously reacted very well with the fan base. I think it could have done more. I think some really good songs on that album.
Because I saw you live on that tour when it came out, when you played Cardiff, and it was wicked. And I feel like it must have been about 3 months afterwards. Everyone kind of went into lockdown, and I feel like it didn't get its times to get it showcased in a way.
Yeah, well, the second half of the tour, we put in on the success of the first one. We wish we just made it a longer tour from the start, and then we would have got it all in. So we were really gunning up for that. Then it got moved because of the whole situation. Then it got moved again, and then it was a bit like, it's just going to be too late now. We're on to a new record. But it was, yeah. I think if we'd done that second tour, we would have had another single out, and I think we would have, I think it would have had a bit more impact. But you know what? I mean, it's still there. People can still listen to it. People can still discover it. I think there's some good songs on that record, and it was a good live album as well. Because it had a few rock moments, songs like Kyoto and stuff, and even the title track like Tallulah was really good live. Fear of Flying was sort of classic Feeder track. It was good. I mean, it was probably a bit more. I hate the word commercial. Maybe a bit more kind of a bit more radio friendly, maybe than this one. But saying that, this one was done equally well. So you never quite know, really. I think it was just unlucky timing.
Yeah. Well, the set list from like 2 years ago, whenever it was before lockdown, I think it was great, and it fitted well in with the set list and the catalog. Yeah. And I was every band that kind of put out an album a month or a few months before the lockdown, I feel like they just had that just removed, and then obviously 2 years later
they're lucky that we got the first bit of the tour, and I think if we'd been a bit later it would have been worse. I think some bands had it even worse, and some people were even like releasing their albums during lockdown, and they might have got a high chart place, but I think they went under the radar a little bit. A lot of really good records, And so I think we were lucky that we weren't releasing. Sorry, I'm just turning something off the stove. I think we were lucky that we weren't releasing. It could have been worse, but yeah, I think it could have had a bit more impact, but it still did pretty well. So it wasn't too bad.
Definitely. And obviously this one is just from like an independent side, it's doing fantastic, and I can't wait to see you guys in April in a couple of weeks' time at the Bristol show.
It's a shame we couldn't get the Cardiff date because we were trying to. I think we were trying to go back to. So you saw us at the uni, didn't you? At the,
yeah.
Actually, that's a nice venue. Actually,
they've done it up now, and it's much better than the shit it was back in the day.
I played there many years ago with what they were called Dubboard. They're called Skindred now.
Yeah.
And we did a few years ago. It was nowhere near as nice, and I remember it being it was all right. It was a very typical sort of like student gig. It wasn't that good in there. And then when we turned up to do it this time, I was like, wow, this is really they've really spent some money on it, and it's really vibey. It's good size, but I don't think we could get that venue. And there was a tram shed which we thought was a bit too small, and I didn't even know if that was available. And then there was only St. David's Hall, which isn't really right for what we were doing. So we couldn't get Welsh State in this time. Our plan was to do another tour a bit later in the year and maybe come back and do one then. But we did the Catfish show at the end of last year, and we were also playing with Noel Gallagher.
Yeah.
In Owen Bay in say West Wales. It's West Wales, isn't it? Is it West Wales or
Swansea?
Wales?
Swansea way. Let's just say West.
So it's just past. Yeah. So it's so we got that, and we just did a recent one for the Revive live shows, a little tiny gig, and that was in West Wales as well. So we have done a few things in Wales. So what I'm trying to say is, we're not dissing Wales and Welsh.
Oh no, I honestly, because you've played enough shows in Wales over the last.
But some people have given us a bit of a hard time, and it's nothing to do with not wanting to wanting to play there, because it's a no-brainer for me.
Availability.
If we just can get the right venue, I mean, because you have to imagine everyone's been waiting to play, so suddenly you've not only got a backlog of tours that were meant to have happened like a year or two ago that are happening now. You've also got every band going, I want to play live,
Yeah.
So everyone's, we were even lucky to even get these dates, and we couldn't get certain places that we know we could have sold out really quickly because we just couldn't get in there. So we've done the best we can, but I'm sure we'll come back and do like a proper show, maybe a bit later in the year in Wales, because we're talking about maybe, even if we can't do a full tour for the second half, we might just do 3 or 4 shows. And if we do, I'll definitely try and get a Welsh date in, either in Cardiff or Newport or somewhere like that.
Do you always look at venue like capacity, or do you look at the show as a whole when booking tours? When looking at tours, even?
Obviously we can put our venues sort of, forward that we love playing. Excuse my horrible throat.
That's cool, man.
Good job of not singing tonight. Obviously, we have our favourites, but it's usually done on obviously like routing, because you have to make it work routing wise. Otherwise, you're going all the way up there and coming all the way back down.
Yeah.
Like drives, and it just gets very expensive. So there's always a bit of that going on. Obviously availability, getting the right venue, but obviously, we put the ones forward that we like, and then hopefully, we'll get, most of them in there. There was a few we couldn't even go back to this year that we just couldn't get in, so we decided to just not bother playing another venue that we didn't think was as good. But yeah, touring is always a bit tricky, and there is a lot of bands out at the moment, which is encouraging, but there's almost, it's weird. It hasn't quite got back to normal. Like, tours are not flying out, but there's a lot of bands out doing tours. So, what's been happening, or what was happening was, you see a gig sold out, and then you go to the gig and it's half empty. Yeah. So people are turning up. It's bizarre. And people are getting ill as well. So, people are still getting COVID. I know it's not as serious as it was, but so there's that going on as well. So it's not the easiest time to sell tickets, but it's definitely a massive improvement on what it was.
Yeah.
We're just looking forward to getting out there and doing this record. It's going to be a really special tour. It's going to be a real return to 90s feeder. We want to be really about the music. We've got a bit of a sort of, it just feels like a really good time to do what we do and sort of like revisit what we did in the 90s. And this record fits really well with a lot of our old stuff.
I was going to say, this is quite heavy, heavy as feeder gets in, the broad sense of terms.
It's definitely the heaviest side. I love heavy stuff. It's just that, I like songs. So sometimes the songs don't seem as heavy because they're very melodic, but
Slow Strings, I think is one of the heaviest on the track.
So which one?
Slow Strings.
Well, it's dark. It's sort of heavy. I really like that track. I wasn't sure how people would sort of, if people would like it, but I really like that. It's very, what I like about it, it was so easy for me to, when I was writing it and doing it in the studio and just on a production level, to do the sort of quiet bit and then go heavy, you know, because it's one of those songs that sound good like that as well. And maybe that made it a bit more accessible. But I wanted to take you on a different journey with that one, and let it's a real slow build, you know, it builds and builds and builds, and then it suddenly kicks in at the end.
Yeah.
And I quite like that. And I think it's going to be a fun song to experiment with live. I think we can really go off on one with that. And maybe, you know, it's an interesting track. And it just felt like
dropping. What were you going to say? Sorry.
It just felt at that point in the album, it just felt like a nice place to have it, you know.
Yeah, I think dropping Torpedo as the first single, like "We're Back" kind of thing, that was almost like, fuck me, right? Okay, cool, I'm on board with this already.
Well, I wanted to know that this is a rock record, and it just felt like it was sort of in your face, bang. And you know, we've had to me, there's elements. I mean, now I've finished it, and I'm not so close to, you know, now I've had time to live with it. Because you don't realise, you're not trying to do anything at the time, you're not trying to say, oh, let's make an album like the first one, let's go heavy. I don't ever work like that. I sort of just kind of do what comes naturally. I mean, they're all written on acoustic guitar, these songs, all of them.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of kind of how it takes shape. I think, you know, I think the heaviness maybe came from, well, it came in a natural way, but I think it was partly because of maybe, you know, those moments that I remember on the Tallulah tour when we were really rocking out, and songs like Kyoto, I just really enjoyed it. There was a real spark, you know, you could feel it on stage. You know, as we get attacking, I could just see he was just like, he just came alive on those songs. And so I think I had a bit of that in my mind, and also maybe a bit of frustration not being to play live.
Yeah.
Lockdown just made me want to just go, and like rock out.
Something.
Yeah, it does. It makes you want to rock out. And I think that's brought a bit of something to the record. But there is some really mellow moments, as you know, on there. As there is on most Feeder records, and you know, this one sort of touches on the Renegades vibe a bit. It also touches.
I love Renegades. That is my favorite, other than Echo Park. Renegades is my go-to one.
Yeah, I really like that record. I think it's got a real vibe. I think if it came out now, it'd do really well. I mean, it sold quite well compared to what CDs sell nowadays.
Yeah,
but it was, some people got confused by it. They thought, oh, it's not Feeder. I said it was still a Feeder record. It was just we wanted to go and do something different and go back to our roots and play smaller venues. And that's what the whole Renegades thing is. Even when I meet people now, they go, oh yeah, and I really like your side band like Renegades. So I was like, no, that's still Feeder. It was just a different headspace, and just trying to get back to how we started, to sort of, sometimes you have to go back to that to get to the next step. I really enjoyed that record. You know, we did it as a 3-piece, you know, we did it, it was just a great fun to play. But this album's got elements of that kind of, you know, the rock side, and also elements of, do I hear little bits of Swing and Polythene now on it? Yeah. It's that guitar sound I've got, and just some of the melodies, but it's different. I think it's moved on. I think there's a bit more of a maturity to it, but it's still got hopefully those sort of trademarks. You know, something
from every album brought into this.
It is, but I think like Tallulah even more so than this one. I think that had a bit of everything on that record, and had a bit of, it had a few heavy ones. It had some of the more indie pop, so heavy side of Feeder. Had a bit more sort of ballad anthemic songs. I think that's what that album did quite well for us. I think it ticked quite a lot of boxes for people. At the time, I had no idea it had all those in there, but this one was a bit more focused because I really wanted to make a classic 70s kind of vibe, kind of rock album that was like, I really spent time on the sequence. I wanted it to be 5 each side, not too long. And I was really, disciplined not to move away from that. And, there's been quite a lot of thought gone into the sequence and just how it flows. Because if we cut it in half, it makes two really good mini albums. Yeah. Because often you buy an album, the first half's great, the second half's not very good. I think this record works as two standalone things. I think the second half is equally strong. It's just kind of still rocky, but it's just not. But it's maybe slightly more accessible. The second half. It's kind of bizarre because you normally put those at the front of a record. Yeah. But I just wanted to, we just wanted to make an album that we felt, was us and it was good, and it's been really well received. So honestly, I'm so overwhelmed by the response for it. Is it an album you can play live from start to finish? I hope so. Sorry, I'm just sitting off. I just left something on the stove. That's all right, man. I'm trying to multitask. I'm doing it really badly. I think just put at the bolognese. Oh no! Right, no, it's all right. Yeah, well, we just done a lot of installs. We did it sort of stripped back acoustic, and just me, just sort of, you know, almost like, it was some keyboards, a con, me on acoustic, and then Tommy on electric, just in a little through a little tiny amp, and then we did a couple as a 3-piece as well, and we did hide and seek, magpie in a sort of acoustic style. We did the healing, desperate hour, which is the bonus track on the CD. I don't know if you've heard that one, and we did a couple of gigs. We did a submission, so I think in total we've already played 6 songs, but obviously in a more acoustic way.
Yeah.
But it was quite a nice way of starting it off, because at least they're kind of in the system in a different way. But it was quite nice to do that, actually. Because sometimes when we go in to have a new record, sometimes we do the first few days just as a 3-piece, and then we build up from there.
Yeah.
Because you get that really happening, which is that's our heart, isn't it? Always going to be that 3-piece thing. And then Tommy comes in and does all the guitar parts, and then we add all the keyboard element. I mean, you know, there's quite a lot of keyboards on Feedy stuff. It's just in there with the production. But if you actually listen to the multi-tracks, you'd be amazed how many different sounds are on there. Yeah. I mean, the early records like Polythene and Swim don't have any keyboards on. But from sort of Yesterday Went Too Soon, that's when I started to get into strings and keyboards more.
I think more people need to use strings and stuff, because
I love
strings just bring a different level of.
I was doing the arrangements. I mean, obviously we couldn't go to Abbey Road and do the strings, so they're all done. You know, they're all done with sort of Lamenatrons and sample stuff. But you know, you can make them sound pretty good actually. And you know, we did do real strings on Comfort and Sound and a few albums where I've been to Abbey Road and Air. It was the most amazing experience, but unfortunately, it wasn't very practical during lockdown, and also it's incredibly expensive.
I was going to say, yeah.
we got. I mean, I did it all here with Tim, engineer and co-producer, just in my little studio called the Treehouse, and then we did the drums in some bigger studios where we sort of worked in like previously. But we had to work in like tiny group. It was just me, the engineer, co-producer, and like Jeff. Or we worked with Carl Brazil on a few songs as well. Yeah. And I was just sending tracks up to Taka, just up north. I didn't even see Taka during lockdown. It's mad. It's crazy. But anyway, you know, with technology, we were able to do it, and you know, we did some of the previous album a bit like that anyway, and so it didn't really hold us back. But we couldn't have done that like 20 years ago. No, it would have been difficult.
To send it by post.
Yeah, exactly.
So with these 6 songs you did on the stripped back tour, do you know which ones are going to work well on the upcoming tour? Are you still trying to?
If it was up to me, well, listen, I'm starting rehearsal on Monday, so we've got a couple of weeks just to get it all together. Plus, we want to try and revisit some early Feeder stuff that we haven't played for a long time. And these guys who we're playing with, I don't even ever played some of them, so it's going to be a lot of work. But we're thinking of maybe revisiting a couple of songs from maybe like Swim and Polythene era as well. But I mean, if it's up to me, I would just play the whole album, because I think it's be a really fun one to play. But you always get certain bands that come expecting to hear a best of set every time you play.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm just going to the bar. This is a new song. I don't want it.
It's like, no. But this is an album tour, and I've made it really clear from the off that that's what we're doing. It's going to be, you know, of course we'll play a few gems in there as well.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be a sort of. It's going to be, you know, it's definitely be a heavier set. It's going to be the heaviest set we've done for a while.
So with those hidden gems, are they going back to? You know, Silent Cry with maybe We the People?
No, much further back than that. No, I'm going more like Swim Polythene era, things like, you know, songs we haven't played for ages, things like. Okay. I'm not even sure what we're going to play yet.
No,
you know, songs that sort of floating around, you know, things like World of Sleep, Shade, you know, In My Perfect Days, A Stereo World, you know, Radiation. I think we only ever played that. I haven't played that since we were 3-piece with John Lee. You know, I don't think I played World of Sleep since John died. So it'd be quite special to do those again.
Yeah,
and they fit really well with this record. I mean, like All the Sleep and Shake could almost be on this album.
Yeah.
So that sort of era, really. Obviously, you know, I would do even more, because even some stuff from Silent Cry and, you know, obviously the Renegade stuff would fit really well. But I just wanted to do something even further back, and then it just feels like a good time to do it.
Yeah, the new and the old, and not the middle.
Yeah, I think so.
For now.
Also, a lot, you know, just sort of introducing some fans that got into the band from sort of Echo Park onwards, who maybe haven't heard some of that stuff still. You'd be amazed how many people only really know us from Buck Rogers onwards and never really discovered some of the earlier stuff, apart from maybe Hyde they might know. And that's fine. because we've got a massive back catalogue.
Yeah.
But it's hard to pick set lists because unless we end up doing a 4-hour set, which is just not going to happen.
No,
it's just too much to try and fit in, and there's always going to be somebody that says, "Oh, you didn't play enough of that," or "You didn't play my favourite." But you know what? Hopefully, they'll come and see us again if that's the case. Because we're not like dissing any of those songs. And if you come and see us at a festival, it's like it's
a
kind
greatest
of
hits set anyway.
It's a bit of a greatest hits one. We still put a couple of rocky songs in there like Kyoto, and I'm sure we'll do a few from this record. But I'm not quite sure yet until we get in rehearsal room how it's all going to pan out. But we'll definitely be doing as much of the new album as we can, and we might do some a bit more like stripped back acoustic style, just to break up the heaviness, because it sounded really good like that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited now.
Interesting.
So my last question is, on this album, what was the hardest song? The song that just gave you the most ball ache to get finished? Or
do you know what? There wasn't really. I mean, the way I work in general, I don't really tend to get those because I'm quite organised with the. There's certain things that maybe you're not happy with something in the rhythm or something like that. They're all pretty good. I would say probably, and it wasn't a ball ache, just one that I changed my mind a bit on the feel of the verses and stuff and reworked it, which is a very simple song actually. It's a Wall of Silence.
Oh, I've played that so many times. Like
if you heard the original, right, basically the verses all the same. So I had it all finished like vocally, I had all the guitar parts. So I had to chop out the bass and redo the bass and the verses because I could play to the original one and we had to edit it. So basically what it was, if you imagine the song was finished and I kept all elements of the verse and I redid all the guitars just in those sections, redid the bass and redid all the keyboards. I just had this idea to make it a bit more. It's almost like a bit of an 80s thing. And I thought
that build up at the intro, but it's such a bouncy, happy song.
Even the verse that "What have we become?" it's got a bit of an 80s vibe about it, And so the original verse was the same melody, but it was a bit more kind of come back around-ish. And I felt like it was great, but I felt like I'd done it before, and I just didn't think it did the song justice. So that one probably took the most work in a weird kind of way, even though some of the other ones have got much more arrangements and parts on them. I mean, like just doing all the strings on the healing and that, it takes a long time. But yeah, Wall of Silence was probably the one that I sort of finished and then went back in and sort of redid the production a bit. And I think it was worth it because I think it sounds a lot better for it.
It is my favorite song on the album.
Is it?
Wall of Silence, followed by Slow Strings, and then Torpedo.
Yeah. So what's your favorite one? Wall of Silence?
Wall of Silence, then it'll be Slow Strings, just kind of like the heaviness and the darkness to it. But Torpedo, that opening track, the first taster of new feeling there.
Yeah, I mean, I really like. Just on a personal, I like those. I really like Slow Strings a lot. But I mean, for me, on a personal level, I don't have one particular favourite. I keep getting asked this, but I really like When It All Breaks Down, track 3, and I really like Magpie as well. I think it's a really, really cool track. But yeah, Torpedo's great fun. I know Taka likes that one. But I think there's a song on there for most people, and I think it's just one of those records where. I haven't really had any real negative stuff for any tracks. Some people love Submission, and it's like, great, there seems to be something there for most people, which is, which you never know until it's out,
It ticks all the boxes for a feeder fan.
Yeah, I have to admit, I really worked hard on this record and I had a long time to live with it. But I didn't really expect such a good response, I have to admit. I thought it was a good record and I thought people would like it, but it's just been unbelievable. Just the fan base, just like response for it, it's just been incredible. And we've had some of our best reviews for it. It's bizarre. Even people that used to work for NME and stuff who were never really into kind of 90s sort of guitar-y, grungy bands. No, we had a couple of amazing reviews. I think, is that the same guy? It's like, so obviously we've outlived some of those critics and they've come round to sort of, maybe it's the fact we're still here and they respect that. But yeah, it just seems to have connected with people, and it's quite nice because it's hard to get, to do that with rock, and it's hard to even get in the chart with rock,
Yeah.
But on a positive, there's quite a lot of bands around that are getting really influenced by 90s music at the moment, whether it's more rock or indie stuff. So that's really encouraging, and that's probably why maybe it's a good time for bands like us, because there isn't so many, kind of still going like us in the UK. I can't think of many. So it's all about timing. It's all about having the record out at that right time. If it's the right musical climate, it can often do really well. And some of our albums have been maybe not at the right time. That's just the way it is. It's the same for everyone.
Have you been sat on this album for a while until you feel it was right to release it?
Not sat on it. Yeah, I had a while. It's at least probably sort of 8 months at least before it came out. But I was doing a lot of stuff, getting all the, we were getting all the artwork and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We had to final booked 8 months up front. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been ready. And it literally came in literally on the Sunday, and it was out on the Monday. So me and Taka spent literally, it was meant to take 14 hours, and we did it in 6 hours. We had to sign over 3,000. It's crazy. And we could have sold more, but we'd run out of stock. We didn't have enough. They didn't make enough vinyls. So, maybe we'd have been number 4, maybe. Who knows? Yeah. But you know what? That's a nice problem to have, because often what happens is you overorder, and then you're left with hundreds of CDs and things just sat in a box and never get. So it was a nice problem to have.
There does seem to be a vinyl problem going on. I know Don Broco couldn't get their album chart because they couldn't get the vinyl inside, and I was like, oh.
No, I know. So another guy from there, I know Jason, who did the album, who said that because they re-released it, and then obviously went to number 1. Yeah. So it is, and it doesn't matter how big a band you are. It doesn't matter. And also a lot of it's made in Poland and stuff like that. So probably now it'd be worse at the moment with what's going on in Ukraine. So it is frustrating, but I'm hoping, because there's a bit of an up on the physical. Maybe you might find a few companies sort of setting up in the UK, because they should. It would.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
I know. I think it's just the fact it was so much cheaper to do it in Europe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's got to be a good market for somebody.
Especially after Brexit, if you're paying all those import fees, you'd be like,
keep it in the UK. Keep it. I'm sure it'll be done really well. So that would be really nice, because that would really help things. I mean, let's see.
Yeah, they're very expensive to run.
I know.
Grant, thank you very much for your time. Always insightful, and I'll catch you in Bristol, I guess.
Yeah, well, if you want to come, if you just let this came through
Alex.
This is Alex. Yeah, if you want to come, let them know.